Did you guys maybe change the style of the book amid the pandemic with maybe new ways of learning now with, especially as a college student being having to go virtual for so many of my classes. Did you guys have to change it? Did you guys change anything because of that?
So I can tell you in some very concrete ways that it changed the act of writing the book, because one of the great pleasures of doing this was going to watch educators and scientists and parents and families around Pittsburgh to see how are they applying the Fred method, how are they applying the lessons of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the digital age. Of course, we couldn't do that once the pandemic broke out, and all of our, just like everybody else, all of our meetings and interviews moved to telephone, moved to Zoom. And of course, that changes things, right? And so there's actually a section in the book where we talk about, well, what does it mean to build a relationship through a screen? And is that possible? And of course, the answer is yes, because we're writing a book about a person who made a whole career out of making connections with kids and with adults through a screen. So it was an interesting test for us to sort of live up to what Rogers was doing all along.
So that is very unique, guys. So, what is unique about the book itself and its relation to Fred Rogers?
Yeah, so we didn't set out to do it this way, but in retrospect, there's a formula to each of the 6 chapters. So we present a theme, a learning theme, beginning with curiosity, then creativity, and so on. And each chapter is grounded. It takes you back emotionally to an episode, to an experience that a lot of us were fortunate to watch in the neighborhood. And then what we try and do is, in very readable ways, present what is it that learning is teaching us about learning itself, demonstrating that that is in fact what Fred Rogers, in most part, was doing decades ago, and how science has now borne out what it is that he was doing and demonstrated how and why it's so important. And then we try and bring it forward to our lives today and give you examples in classrooms, in museums, in libraries, places in our community where we can look right here in Pittsburgh, but all across the country, to see people using that Fred method, and then try and give each of us, whether it's a teacher or a parent or someone who just cares about kids, to give you really concrete ideas about things that you might do. And so in that sense, what we hope is that we've made these blueprints accessible. And that was really what Joanne Rogers noticed and wrote about in part in her foreword, that what Fred left us is entirely accessible to each of us. And it's our opportunity, but also our charge to make it our own and to do the work.
Absolutely. When we think of Mr. Rogers today, we think of him as the nice guy in the sweater, and he absolutely was that. He made us feel good, he made us feel welcome. The question we tried to answer in this book was, how did he do that, and how can we continue to do that today? And it's interesting that Joanne wrote in the foreword that nobody worked harder at being Fred Rogers than Fred Rogers. And what I hope that we've accomplished in the book is set out to answer that question of, okay, well, how? How did he do that, and what can we learn from that today?